I just tried.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream.
Woo!
Yeah. Damn it.
Today's musical accompaniment is brought to you by Biken. She came out and she's a very fun character.
Very good.
Is she sexy?
Awesome.
I mean,
yes.
Have you not seen Biken? Biken is Biken.
Her tits are breasting boobily as she walks down the stairs.
Oh my god.
I was
Jesus
looking
Christ.
at like
I'd much rather argue about the way I eat things than hear about people being super horny.
And
I was
anyways,
watching a
Enough-
confident.
enough about that. Yeah.
Enough about that. Wait. Congratulations. This is the first Umineko stream with actual sponsors. Congratulations on
Say
it.
what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. This episode of Umineko no Naku Koroni is brought to you by K Jewelers. Couples and families are captured in the moment they cherish with the people they love. K Jewelers encourages you to mark every moment and celebrate every kiss with its jewelry. And for a limited time, get 0 down special financing on purchases $300 and more. Every kiss begins with K.
Disclaimer.
Yes,
We're sending the check
we
already.
got sponsored by multi-million national corporation K Jewelers.
What's that? Maybe. We are
This-
making... Guys, you don't know how much we're making. I spent it all on a life-size model of Rokinjima. I don't know where that money went. Some guy named Kraft said he was gonna invest it for me. No fucking clue where the money went.
I swear to God, I would be able to
And I
live on
bought a
that
bag
island.
of jewels.
Unfortunately, he invested it in Moon NFTs.
Okay, so that
And they
Biken.
just went down in value because somebody stole like half of them.
Should talk to
Alrighty
this guy,
then.
Kanozaki-kun.
So that Biken walk is real.
Ambitious young man with
Oh,
a
yeah.
bright
Enough
future
about-
ahead of him.
God
But
damn,
but
she's
you
got
know what? You
tits.
know what? You know what? Enough about K Jewelers. Enough about Kraus losing all of our money. Enough about how spicy or not Takis are. I don't give a shit. I've never even eaten Takis. What's important right now is episode 6, Dawn of the Golden Witch. Good morning. It is at last time for the curtain to rise on Battler-sama's game. Let's observe this fight from the opposing side of the chessboard. Can Battler-sama succeed in playing the demanding role of the game master? There is no longer any difficulty level. At this point, there are no hints, but a confession. Let's begin!
Yay!
Confession? Also, if you do enjoy Takis and can't stand them, more power to you, man. You got a better constitution.
There's an episode
to real
starting.
persons, organizations, placings, or events.
Better constitution than I
We take this
have.
opportunity to remind players that owning the PS3 and PC edition of Umineko is a requirement for playing this game. Hope you enjoy a fresh new experience of the continuation of the story and wish you a pleasant voyage across the sea of mysteries.
Wow.
It's a lot longer than it contains scenes.
Hee-hee-ha-hee-ha. Enough about
Yeah.
that.
No.
Oh, are they called Takis because they look like tequila?
We're moving on.
We are moving on. It is Umineko time. So really quickly,
Oh god, I'm so excited.
Can we see it?
holding on that. I recommend holding on that for.
all right, fine. We'll hold out on it. We'll hold out. Fine. A beautiful glow shone in from the skylight over the grand cathedral. The place was somehow different from the way it had been during the witch's trial. The decorations had changed. The several pleasantly sparkling white ribbons that adorned it were thin like razors, but they trailed beautifully in the air. Flowers were arranged all over in a way that would make any place look cheerful. It was like how a single drop of impure water can spoil an entire cask of wine. Just the presence of those flowers, those ribbons, and the red carpet that ran down the center of the room made it hard to believe that this was the same place Ishirmi and Natsuhi had been falsely accused of a crime. It had truly become a wedding chapel.
White wedding.
Day for a white wedding.
Love is generous, love is merciful.
Oh my god, I love you.
Love does not envy. It does not boast.
These words, spoken by two demons who seem to be in charge of this gathering, were part of a ceremony for making an oath of love before the eyes of God. Of course, in this wedding celebrated by demons, there was no priest in sight. Instead, there stood the witch who controls miracles. Gone.
In sickness and in health. Yeah, a wife's true job is to be supportive in times of sickness. Isn't that right, Erica?
Yes, my master.
What?
Shh. Gone.
Sorry, I was taking
I think we broke her.
Not now.
Skip the notes for now.
I'm still good. That looks good on you. What a fitting outfit for one who has conquered the bridegroom.
I'm honored, my master. The bride standing on the carpeted path was Furudo Erica. The groom's face couldn't be seen. The bride's outfit certainly was a pure white wedding dress. Her veil represented both the white of God's blessings and the white of a demon's cruelty. A great many nobles, witches, and demons were gathered for this wedding. If only their heads hadn't been those of goats. It would probably have seemed a very refined crowd worthy of this great cathedral.
I'd expect no less of you, Vern. The stuff you manage to think of is always twisted.
A wife supporting her ailing husband. Isn't that a lovely story? It suits you well, Erica. And congratulations to you too, Mr. Groom.
At that point, Berncastle stared straight into the groom's eyes. The groom didn't answer. His eyes were gray. His lips would mutter something from time to time, but no one could tell if the words meant anything.
Hey, are you listening? You people?
She spoke to the groom in the plural. Of course, there's only one groom. And of course, the gray-eyed groom didn't answer. Even though you can hear her, you can't answer. Don't worry, okay? Battler son? It's okay. I'll just take everything you are and trample it into the ground. The Witch of Miracles sneered with an evil smile that even a demon would shudder to look at. Even that sneer provoked no response from Battler's dim eyes.
People live for the sake of love. Therefore, today you have fulfilled the purpose of your lives.
Oh, how great is the power to live! The power of love! I pray that the brightness of this day blesses these two for all time!
Just give it a rest already, you demons. What comes next?
The couple will now make an oath of eternal love.
After that, they will exchange rings.
On Battler's hand was a ring bearing the seal of the one-winged eagle, proof that he was the territory lord of this world. And on Erica's finger was a diamond ring that could not be shattered by any miracle. Diamonds signify an eternal bond. However, in Greek, the word diamond simply means unbreakable. Erica wasn't vowing to love Battler forever. She just wanted to rule over him as her eternal property. The wedding was being performed for the sole purpose of defiling Battler.
Don't worry. I won't love you forever. After all, the point of the ceremony is to make you submit to me. Your heart will be shut inside an inescapable closed room forever, where I, Thurido Erica, the detective and the witch of truth, will command it. Your position as Territory Lord and your reign will become mine.
Can't get.
What was that?
Can't get out.
Yeah, I'll bet you can't get out of that closed room. After all, you made it yourself. You'll suffer in that room for all eternity. And I'll remain by your side as your wife forever, getting to enjoy that look of anguish on your face all to myself. I'll defile you forever. Shiramia Battler!
That would suck. I mean, I wasn't even there. That would have been terrible. I didn't even get to see that with you guys.
I thought it would have been really funny if we did that immediately after the fucking ending of episode 5.
Yeah, that would have reached
Twitch, please don't copyright strike this. I know this is like an entire anime opening, but like, come on, don't do that, please.
They're probably going to copyright strike it.
I mean, like, I know we did this like the last time and you didn't do anything, but like, you know, I just want to make that crystal here. Don't get it. Alright. All that could be heard was the sound of the wind. A sound of misfortune, bringing sadness and unease to all those who heard it. So, Khan, this is you.
Oh, any direction?
Relatively deep.
What?
Relatively deep.
Yeah, just do your deep voice.
Oh, alright. 1 second, need some water. Sorry about that. Slowly, I came back to my senses. I finally regained consciousness on top of a bed with a firm mattress. Where was this again? I can't remember where this is. But...
Oh, wait, no, fuck. I'm stupid. No, this isn't you. My mistakey. Oopsies. I think I jumped the gun a little bit. My bad. Whew, okay. All that could be heard was the sound of the wind. The sound of misfortune bringing sadness and unease to all those who heard it. Slowly, I came back to my senses. I finally regained consciousness on top of a bed with a firm mattress. Where was this again? I couldn't remember where this is, but I can vaguely recall that I must not remain here. The room was dimly lit. There was a light on, but that just made the darkness and eeriness of this room more apparent. There were no curtains over the window, but it was too dark outside to see anything beyond it. If I squinted into that pitch blackness, it felt as though I could see the witch of the forest peeking back at me from the darkness, and I averted my gaze from the window in fear. I can't see or hear it, but I get the feeling that if I leave this room, it'll be bright and warm, and someone else will be there for me. I want to get to where everyone else is as soon as I can. Bad memories from when I was very young began to well up. Horrible, harsh memories of when I started dozing off during a family gathering. I was put asleep in some room I didn't know. I remember waking up there, incredibly lonely and sobbing. I must not remain in this room. I just want to get out of here quickly. Once that thought crossed my mind, I didn't want to stay in the room for a second longer than I had to. I'm scared. It's creepy. Where is everyone? I want to get out of here right now. I opened the door trying to leave the room. A pleasant glow snuck in through the crack of the door. As I'd thought, the corridor was filled with a comforting light. I couldn't actually hear them, but I could sense that far away people were enjoying themselves. I'm sure everyone's gathered in this room across from this one. I've been shut up in this lonely, creepy room, all alone. I should go, quickly. As soon as I thought this, a merciless metallic sound rang out, and the door refused to open any further. The chain has been set. I've always hated chain locks. You could open a normal lock just by twisting. The chain locks are built in an annoying way, and I couldn't work them easily. So I've hated them ever since I was very young. Even this chain is causing me trouble, and I just can't get it undone. Why is this happening? I shouldn't leave this creepy room right away. Instead of this thin door, everything is bathed in a warm light. I can't undo it. I just can't undo this chain. The more desperate I grew, the more the unsettling darkness seemed to be closing in on my back, and the more frightened I became. Then I finally noticed something wrong with this chain. Yes, there is a chain, but it's not a chain lock. It's just a chain staked into the door, preventing it from being opened any further. In other words, it isn't made to be opened. What the hell's going on? Who would do something like this? Damn it! No matter what I did, no matter how much I struggled, I couldn't pull out the stake or undo the chain or break the mechanism. This door was just a demon's mouth, made to trick me into thinking it would open before crushing my hopes. Even so, if only I could just open this door somehow, get out into that pleasant corridor. This desire forced me to keep my hand glued to the doorknob. But it was useless. Both the chain and the stake were firm, and no matter how much I clattered them about, there was no chance of this door opening any further. Even though I couldn't see the pleasant hallway through the crack, I had no choice of opening that door any further. Maybe someone will come if I yell. Maybe the door can be opened easily from the outside. When I thought this, I tried to call out to someone, but I couldn't make the words come out. I could mouth, "Someone come here!" but no voice left my lips. What's going on? Someone come. Why can't I cry out? Help me, help me, help me. The mere fact that I can't say help me out loud is even scarier. If I turn around, the witch gazing into the room from the darkness outside might be inside the room this time, standing right behind me. Frightened. Scared, I'm scared. I'm scared. Help me, someone help me. I can't get out. Let me out. This room. Help me. I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared. Let me out. Let me out. Let me out. Help me. Help me. Help me. Just conferring. Chelly, this is your line.
Any direction?
Remember that voice you like so much? Do that one.
Which one?
Oh, for,
Dante.
Dante.
Oh, Dante, okay. Looks like they've arrived, lady! God, my mic is gonna sound so much better soon.
And now, Khan, do the voice.
Huh? Oh.
You are Angie again.
Okay, thank you. Amakusa ran his finger down my cheek. In an instant, I awoke from the doze I'd just been in. I glared at Amakusa for waking me up in such a creepy way, but he just pretended not to notice. Where is this? It feels like a parlor in some dignified person's house. But I have no memory of this place at all. Where is this? And why am I...
I was typing. You still half asleep, lady?
Yeah, sorry. Where are we?
Huh?
Apparently he hadn't expected me to forget something like that just because I wasn't fully awake yet. For once, I agreed with him. Why am I in some parlor that I don't recognize? The sounds of the footsteps from the they Amakusa had mentioned had come right up to the opposite side of the door. I could hear conversing voices. Is that a woman? Judging by the coffee and snacks laid in front of me, I was the guest here. In that case, I'd better remember why I came here. Or at least who it was I came to visit. Who am I? Ushiromiya Anji. Who's the man standing behind me? Amakusa Juza. The man who used to be my guard long ago. He's now the bodyguard Okanogi assigned to me. In that case, is this after Aunt Ava's death? When I've thrown off my pursuers? On that journey to find out what happened 12 years ago? Is that how it went? Do I really have a memory like this? After a knock, the door opened. And the person I must have come here to meet entered along with an assistant. Oh, wonderful. Even after seeing her face, I can't remember who she is.
Our sincere apologies for keeping you waiting. Hachijo Toya is here.
That's a relief. The assistant introduced her to me first. And I finally remembered who she was. She? I thought it was a he.
Excuse me, but are you...
That's right. I am Hachijo Toya.
Magazines were all talking about your book signing event. Supposedly, a mysterious male author showed up wearing sunglasses and a mask. Never thought you'd be a woman. What's the deal?
It was just a double arranged by the editing department. I was the helper standing behind him at the book signing.
Yeah, now that's a shock. I haven't read your works, but I bet you're even more mysterious than your books.
Readers only pretend to read books. They read them based merely on the name of the author and the brand and think they've actually read them. No matter what I write in my books, they truly don't read anything. They just pretend to read so they can look smart and knowledgeable and keep up with the current fad. Why on earth should I expose myself to these people? Why indulge such trash?
I see. Looks like you're Madame Hachijo, all right. This person really is eccentric. There's no doubt about that. This is Hachijo Toya herself. Hachijo Toya is a mystery novelist who's become the center of discussion lately. It seems her books themselves have been highly praised, but it's her mysterious debut that's attracted so much attention towards her lately. Last year, she managed to win several different awards for exceptional mystery novels offered by multiple large publishing companies, submitting each of her works under a different pen name. And after that, several highly regarded anonymous works were discovered, one after another, to have been stories she had written in the past under false names. And her popularity soared as she herself became more mysterious than her books. Despite all of this, the author herself never appeared in public, and everything about her was wrapped in a veil of secrecy. However, just a few days ago, this author finally made a public appearance for a book signing, showing up with a mask that covered his face. I didn't get to finish reading that. And drawing even more public attention. And yet apparently even that had been a fake. Given this person's radically unconventional track record, This was hardly a surprise to hear her casually insult her fans like this.
I know quite a lot about you too, Shirumia Anji-san. The talk shows have been saying all sorts of things.
I'm sure you heard nothing good.
Yes. Nothing good at all. Apparently you employ and fire people on a whim. Try to resolve everything with money and care nothing for the law as long as you get your way.
Sorry, I was plugging in my computer. I'm here.
Yep, sounds about right.
However, I happen to like intelligent people like you.
Is that why you agreed to meet with me?
Exactly. You're the only person who's managed to spot that Ito Ikukuro Reigo Namu is another pen name used by me, Hachito Toya. That's actually quite impressive.
Ito Ikukuro Reigo Namu. It was a pretty strange pen name. However, if you match the Japanese syllables to numbers, you can read it as 1101996056. $11,019,960. Oh, I fucked it up.
11,19,960,576.
My bad.
No problem.
This massive number is equal to 18 to the 8th power. 8 to the 18th. In Japanese, Toya no Hachijo. Bad dog, no!
Those jokes never translate unless you specifically explain them.
It's fine.
We're not gonna like scream at you about the dog anymore. Don't worry.
What the dog do?
So did they say that So did they say that that's what the kana converted to numbers are? Sorry, I missed part of what
way
they
that
said.
you can read characters as numbers.
Okay, so they're including the Gorowase now.
Yeah, it's like Suda 5-1, right?
Yeah, 5-1 is Goichi, and his name is Goichi Suda.
What they said.
Anyways.
Or in other words, Hachijo Toya.
Very well done. I was quite impressed. In fact, I was so impressed I decided to let you meet me in person. Welcome to my mansion, child of man.
Her manner of speaking was extremely condescending. But perhaps because of her elegant manner, it didn't feel particularly irritating. This person had a sort of majestic grandeur about her, which made that style of speech seem almost natural. At least that's how it felt to me. In fact, it felt almost though this was the manifestation of some noble being who would have no need to show herself before mere humans under normal circumstances. Since I'm not particularly a fan of hers, I guess this is proof that her mysterious charisma really is nothing to be laughed at. However, I didn't come here to talk to Hachijo Toya, the mystery novelist. I'm interested in Ito Ikukuro Reigonnamu, the mysterious web author who only releases her works over the internet.
It's funny how that would have been a big thing back then. That's nothing now.
Around the Japanese parts of the internet, Ito Ikukuro is an extremely famous witch hunter. However, she isn't a big opinion leader like Professor Otsuki. She's one of those message bottle forgers who are always the center of vigorous debate. Message bottle forgers are, as the name suggests, people who forge and post the contents of what purport to be mysterious message bottles detailing the events of the Rokkenjima incident. They claim to have discovered a new message bottle, and post either a very similar counterfeit story or a new theory with their own interpretation of the truth, all of which are supposedly written by Ushiromiya Maria. In doing so, they openly take on the name Ushiromiya Maria, writing out new bizarre tales as if they'd been present themselves and knew the truth. Then they send these stories out to the newest sea discovered by humankind, the internet, claiming that it's a third or fourth message in a bottle. All of the first forgers were either simple pranksters or crooks trying to swindle collectors. Eventually, though, people who claimed to have solved the riddles of the message bottles, tales, and reached the truth started to appear. And they started creating original works of their own, third and fourth message bottles from Ushiromiya Maria, as though they had moved over to the riddle teller's side. These people rewrote the tale of the witch with whatever interpretations they wanted, and every once in a while parts of their theories would gain big followings on the net. Some of these creations grew to be so widely trusted they were believed to contain some grain of truth. The more rigid witch hunters openly despised these people, calling them forgers, counterfeiters, or just witches. Though they claimed to have reached the truth, they refused to tell anyone and created fake message bottles as though testing everyone else. It was no surprise that more straight-laced witch hunters were seriously annoyed by these forgers. However, among those who simply liked to entertain themselves with the occult fantasy of Rokkenjima, an extremely small number accepted these creations as literary works. Glad of these additions to the mysterious tale, Ito Ikukuro was the most highly regarded of these forgers. End of the Golden Witch. I've read that one. That's one hell of a hobby you got there, killing off other people's families however you like.
Did you come all the way just to say that? I think not, final descendant of the Ushiromiya family.
In her latest forgery, End, she killed off 7 members of my family, at least during the actual story. No, if you count Alliance and Banquet, the other forgeries she's made before now, then she's killed off most of my family in horrible ways over and over again. Of course I want to complain. However, all of her works are known for being in both form and level of perfection. The closest tales to those written by Ushiromiya Maria herself. In particular, Ito Ikukuro's first forgery, Banquet of the Golden Witch, managed to fit everything, including Ushiromiya Eva's escape to Kuwadorian. People wondered whether this might be the true story of Rikkenjima, and it even made it onto the talk shows. So far, all of these tales have been nothing more than electronic text on the web. However, people will eventually realize that Ito Ikukuro is actually Hachijo Toya. When that happens, they'll become the works of that bizarre Hachijo, and no one will think of them as mere fan creations. People will probably start wondering if this might actually be a third message bottle she found and released under the guise of stories she herself wrote. When that happens, these stories will probably seem even more bizarre and credible. You're pretty cunning, aren't you?
Why do you say that?
You're doing this to make your forgery seem more mysterious and more credible.
And what do you mean by credible?
Once you've gained credibility, your forgeries will rise to the level of truth.
Rise to the level of truth? How foolish. Such a thing is unnecessary for my works.
Are you saying that because your works are truth and not mere forgeries?
Correct. And they are true, so there's no need for them to rise into anything.
You aren't Maria One-chan. And you definitely weren't on Rikkenjima on that day. So how can you be so absurd as to call this the truth?
Hey, don't lose your cool, lady!
Shut up! What makes you think I'm losing my cool?
I'm used to violent women!
Angie half realized that she let her emotions get the better of her. She let out a sigh and shrugged.
Your reason for coming here. It wasn't to yell at me for killing your family several times within my forgeries, correct?
Hachijo would have been smiling at Angie kindly, but in a condescending manner. Or else like a mother might watch over a very small child. Angie realized this and was able to suppress her irritation. Apparently, Amakusa could tell that Angie was getting worked up. He joked around with her for a bit so that they could start the conversation over again from the beginning.
And you came here to hear. It's the truth that I've reached, is it not?
Why are you so sure that you've reached the truth?
Because I've understood all the tales.
And I'm asking you why you're so sure about that.
Do you think the sun ever revolved around the earth?
Hachijo suddenly started talking about the Ptolemaic theory.
Ptolemaic.
Angie was about to tell her not to answer questions with more questions, but she quickly realized what Hachijo meant.
Humans used to support the Ptolemaic theory. However, that theory has been rejected in the modern age. Does this mean that, at the instant the theory was rejected, the sun stopped moving and the earth started revolving around the sun?
Of course not. The truth doesn't change based on what humans believe.
And then right now, Your denial of my truth means exactly the same thing.
The idea of heliocentrism was proposed by several scholars before Galileo. However, it was hard to objectively prove that this theory using the scientific techniques available at the time. Even so, it didn't change what the truth was. And yet, it moves.
So, you're saying the truth is still the truth, whether you can prove it or not?
Correct. In the future, when the full truth finally becomes known, people will look back and realize that I had already discovered it.
Apparently, Angie just couldn't stand Hachijo's attitude. She kept getting irritated, and every time, Amakusa would joke around until she settled down again. However, there could be no mistake that Hachijo was a genius, and had used her extraordinary intuition to form a most intriguing outlook on the events that occurred on the island. That was why Angie had wanted to contact Itoi Kukuro and hear her views. Still, this meeting truly had been fortunate for Angie. She had been absolutely sure that Itoi Kukuro was Hachijo Toya. She hadn't thought that the publishing company would really contact the author. And moreover, she hadn't dreamed that the mysterious masked author would grant her an interview under such short notice. The more she thought about it, the more she realized that the sum of the events leading to this meeting made for nothing short of a miracle. Yes, a miracle.
After all, in almost all cases, I'd never be contacted by the publishing company. It would leave for Nijima the next day. Huh? I'd leave for Nijima, then go on to Rokenjima. And then give One-chan a Sakataro stuffed animal. Huh? Why a Sakataro stuffed animal? My memory of the future is all muddled. My head hurts.
Hachijo said something about showing Angie something good, rose from the sofa and headed for the study desk. When she turned her back, Amakusa asked Angie, who seemed to be troubled by something, if she was okay.
Hey, Amakusa. How long have I been here?
This is not the time to be looking at purple PlayStation 5 controllers, and I apologize. What? You've been looking weird for a while now. What's going on?
I can't remember how long I've been sitting here.
Are you still half asleep?
That's not it. I mean, I was able to get an appointment with Professor Otsuki, but the publishing company never got back to me about Itoi Kurokoro. So in the end, I was stuck unable to do anything that entire day. Right?
Huh.
Amakusa, you went to go get that large black bag, didn't you? That's right.
That's right. Just before you left for Nijima. Oh wait, this is not me.
Just before Before we left for Nijima, Amakusa and I parted ways just one time. He said something about getting a weapon for an acquaintance of his, and he went to go get that large black bag. Wasn't that today? What am I talking about? I mean, didn't I go to Nijima, meet Captain Kawabata, and inside the bed shop? Huh? What?
Something wrong?
Did my confusion and uncertainty make me sigh out loud? Even though Hachijo's back was to me, she slowly turned around and smiled as though she had peered into my heart. No, it's nothing. Strange memories. Ones that even I can't understand. I tried to hide my confusion. But for some reason, Hachijo had a strange glint in her eye, as though she could read my mind.
I've revived and killed your family several times within various forgeries. Almost like a witch might.
Reviving and killing them whenever you like. Endlessly. Sounds almost like Beatrice, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. So, please follow the lead of all those people on the web. And consider the possibility that I might be a witch.
She took a thickly packed brown envelope out of a locked drawer. It appeared to be filled to the brim with printer paper. Perhaps this was a manuscript for one of her works. The neat letters written with a fountain pen on the envelope spelled out the word Dawn. There was no forgery by the name of Dawn. Which must mean...
Angie could tell. This is a new one. Hachijo's newest, unreleased forgery.
Dawn of the Golden Witch.
For one such as I, who knows everything, everything is boring. However, I don't dislike letting the ignorant read my works to see what kind of reactions they have. And so, I want you to read it.
You want me to read your newest work, which you've created as the new Endless Witch?
Correct, child of man. Whether you resent it or admire it, you can help me forget my illness for a time.
Let's put an end to this farce, shall we? Who are you? I don't remember ever meeting you like this. Yes, I did try to contact Hachijo Toya. But in the end, I never got a chance to meet her. In other words, all of this is a falsehood. Whose piece am I this time? Sorry, but if you think you can tame Ushiramiya Angie so easily, you're making a big mistake.
Yes, I'd hoped you'd be this interesting.
She finally couldn't hold it back and burst out laughing. Third person.
Gradually, the space around them seemed to be filled with a strange purple mist. The room itself seemed to twist and bend. Her figure also twisted. And after something that couldn't be described elapsed, her form changed to become just what she had called herself. A witch.
Splendid. You did well to see through my veil.
It seems I'm the type witches just love to cling to. You all have that same condescending tone towards humans. I figured you were a witch right away.
The novelist sitting on the sofa was nowhere to be seen. Even Angie's bodyguard, who's supposed to be around at times like this, was gone. There's only a non-human figure relaxing in a large, ornate rocking chair.
I find you truly intriguing, child of man. Your charming nature is the perfect medicine for my boredom.
Yeah, well, I don't see anything charming about this. Why am I alive? Wasn't I killed in a pretty nasty way for breaking the rule about revealing my name? To be honest, I did doubt that those people would just let me go so easily. What kind of farce will I be forced to go along with this time? I really don't care. I'll just do whatever I can within the bounds of the role they give me. Whatever I can to help Oni-chan. Of course, I understand. Even if he wins, he'll never come back to me. Even so, I'll struggle on. I'll make sure Oni-chan comes back to the me of that day.
No need to lose your temper. I'm not asking you to be a piece.
Then why did you summon me here? Don't tell me you want me to read this new story or whatever it is you've written.
That's it exactly. I do not want you to be my piece. I've always been a mere observer. And I have no intentions of sticking my neck into their game.
I don't get it. What is it you want from me?
Be an observer for me. An observer of the fragments Beatrice has woven.
An observer. I don't really get it, but no deal.
In the past, I observed the fragments through Battler's eyes. However, now that he has succeeded the position of Game Master, he's not a suitable observer. I am following this tale with true and earnest intentions. It would be such a waste to observe it through the eyes of Battler now that he, as he is now, like reading a detective novel backwards.
Oni-chan is the Game Master? What on earth are you talking about?
You must have no clue what it's all about. You want to know, don't you? I want to know too. What kind of tale will Battler weave now that he has taken the position of Game Master? Furthermore, I wish to search for the truth Battler has reached as a part of my own mental journey. My illness affects me gravely. I do not think I cannot even get my heart beating.
So, you want me to read your new picture book aloud to you?
You might as well interpret it that way. In exchange, you'll also be able to take part in your own journey of the mind. I do believe that even you have yet to reach the truth. I think you want to continue on the journey to find that truth.
I don't owe you anything.
Do not push your luck. I can be lenient at times, but such cases are rare.
Angie hadn't yet reached the truth either. Though she knew that the game was little more than a toy for the amusement of those witches, she wanted it to resume, so that she could follow the tale and close it on the king called Truth.
I might explore the tale to find the truth for myself. But I have no obligation to read it aloud until the end for your sake. Understand?
Angie was willing to read the story aloud. But she couldn't quit. She could quit any time if this witch made her mad. She was, in effect, warning the witch not to annoy her.
Of course. You can call it a picture book, but to me it's the only medicine for a fatal illness. I cannot take that medicine without you to assist me. In other words, it's a mutually beneficial arrangement.
So, you were telling me to read you a book until you fall asleep. And in exchange, you'll let me read it too. Is that right?
Precisely. If you're willing to accept, I shall ask that you become my reader for a time.
Well, it's nice to get my own title, but all you really want me to do is read books, right?
Becoming my reader means the same as becoming my familiar. In other words, what's done against you will be done against me. I will not permit anyone to disrupt my only interest, that being to read the rest of Beatrice's tale. I will not let Birkenstone or Lambda Delta, or even Beatrice force anything upon you.
This witch, who seemed to have an almost divine quality to her, spoke both quietly and forcefully. There was no threat in her words. However, even so, it was clear that she was on a different level than Bern Castell and other witches, not at all to be taken lightly.
So, you'll offer me protection if I agree to read your book?
Of course. What I want for you is to read out loud to me. I will not spare anyone who attempts to stand in the way of that. If my attitude seems arrogant to you, allow me to apologize, child of man. It may not seem so, but I am speaking to you with the utmost respect.
Yeah, probably. Even that witch-like style of speech feels like it's gotta be the most respectful thing you've said in the last 100 years.
When you're reading a book, do you tell it thank you very much before flipping through the pages?
I guess it is like that. I understand.
Just by agreeing to have a conversation with Angie, she was showing an incredible amount of respect and willingness to compromise. Angie shrugged, but she also nodded to show her consent.
Sure. I'll be your reader. I get that you showed a ton of respect just by asking for my consent first.
You understand well, child of man.
My name's Angie. Not child of man or whatever.
Very well. As proof of my respect for you, I will acknowledge your name.
For her, acknowledging human names was like acknowledging the names of all the leaves scattered across the ground. So, her acknowledging Angie's name was a miracle. No, it was immensely good fortune.
From this point forth, Hushurmia Angie will serve as a reader in Miko. To the Witch of Theater-going, Featherine Augustus Aurora. Until you finish reading, I shall bring calamity to all who attempt to hinder your task.
When the Witch of Theater-going, Featherin, spoke this, Angie was wrapped in a bright light. Angie didn't feel any particular change in herself. But she definitely had been given something that only non-humans could sense. It signified that from this point onward, Angie would be the Witch of Theater-going subject. That didn't mean that Angie would gain some sort of special power. But at the very least, it probably meant that anyone wanting to cause her harm prefers to take on Featherin herself.
Your name is pretty long. Sounds like some Roman person from the history books. What should I call you?
Those not familiar with me call me Augustus Aurora.
After all the respect you've shown me, it's only fitting that I respond in kind. I'll call you Featherin. Any problems?
None at all. For an ailing witch such as myself, even being called by my first name will be an experience to be treasured and pondered over, child of man.
I have a name. It's Angie.
Even conversations like this are pleasant every once in a while. Angie, my Miko.
Angie accepted her role. She would observe this story with the Witch of Theater-going. The curtain was rising on the sixth tale. Chapter break. Break.
Yo!
So I will supply a bit of a fun fact about Featherin. This isn't like a story thing or anything, no. What was going to be originally Bee's, I think, only role was her playing Featherin. We have since changed things immensely from that.
Oh, immensely!
At one time, only Beato and her fellow witches had gathered in the smoking room to chat. Now, however, an unusually large number of people were present.
I wonder what kind of game Battler's gonna show us.
I don't care what it is. As long as it's fun enough to relieve my boredom as I crush it.
Leave everything to me, my master! I'll perform it to my fullest and give you the results you desire!
Yeah, you'd better. I kept making strange faces all last game thanks to you. I hope I don't start getting wrinkles from all that.
There's no need to worry. The beauty of my master's face is without peer, no matter how wrinkly it may get.
What?
It's so rare to see Bern in such high spirits. Beato's game board really is something else. How sad is it? Oh, fuck. How sad is it that the master of this game board is no longer with us? A tiger dies and leaves behind a tide. Looks like Beato died and left behind her game.
Even though chess still exists, no one knows the name of the person who invented it.
Oh, you're right. Poor game inventors.
When to think of it, Battleson really has kept us waiting, hasn't he? Is he still setting up the 6th game?
Gertrude. How have Lord Battler's preparations progressed?
Please allow me to speak. Know that he will be finished very soon.
If he's kept us waiting this long, he must be pretty confident in his plan. Blah, 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 blah. He really humiliated me in front of my master last time. I'll defeat him no matter what it takes. And you in particular. Make sure you don't screw up again.
I will meet the challenge with all my strength.
The previous game master, Lambda Delta, had confirmed that Battler understood everything about Beato's game. However, in order to prove it, Battler would have to run this game by himself and carry it through to completion. In other words, if Erica could crush this game of Battler's, she would, in effect, wipe away the dishonor of that last game. Though Erica was chomping at the bit to get started, it was taking Battler quite some time to show himself. At that time, a swarm of gold butterflies popped into existence and took human form. From the shape of that familiar dress, everyone immediately realized who it was.
Ah, look! It's Beatrice-san! I thought you died and disappeared last time.
The one who died last time was Beatrice the player. This is probably just a piece. Battler's piece.
Quick bit of voice direction, Con, for Beatrice, go a little bit lighter.
Lighter?
Yep. You'll see in a second.
Okay.
Even if she is a piece, it does not change the fact that it is her.
Beatrice gave an elegant curtsy as she appeared. The humble entrance was so vastly different from her usual high-pitched laugh that it made the long-awaited start of the 6th game feel even more ominous than it otherwise would have.
Father will be here very soon. I ask that you wait for just a short while longer.
Father, the heck? Is that the new spin this time?
Not only had Beato started talking in an unusually polite manner, she also used the word father, presumably referring to Battler. For an instant, everyone was stunned into silence. But they quickly realized that this was setting up some kind of theme, and they grinned.
Beata wasn't the type who could keep up this kind of act for long. Probably fall apart in a few seconds, leaving her cackling rudely at everyone. Erica, who was itching for a fight, went for Beata almost at once. I can't believe that incompetent Battler-san reached the truth of your game.
I'm sure Father understands it quite deeply.
I'm being told to go softer.
Is this better?
Yeah, sure, that's good actually, that works.
He really is good at that sort of thing.
Still, you're pretty lucky. If Bella hadn't become Game Master, you wouldn't have revived again. You really got the luck of the devil, don't you?
The luck of the devil?
Well, either way, I'm going to pay you back in full for last time. You're just one of Battler's delusions. So I'll erase every part of you and knock you down into the abyss of oblivion.
I too cannot allow you such an easy victory. I look forward to having a good clean fight.
By this point, everyone realized something weird was going on. There's no doubt that the face, the dress, and the hair were all Beatrice's. However, her expression was different. Even though she had Beato's face, Beato would never show anyone an expression like that.
Who are you?
There was a heavy silence. Lambda Delta spoke for everyone there. At first, Beata had worn a smiling yet blank expression. However, when she realized that the moon had gone suddenly stiff, her expression finally darkened and she hung her head.
Who are you?
You appear to be Lady Beatrice, but are you not?
Even Delano was forced to ask, despite the rudeness of the question. That was how much this woman, who appeared to be Beato, was not.
Am I somehow different from the Beatrice everyone was expecting?
What are you talking about?
Wait a second. You're telling me you have amnesia or something?
I was only born recently, so I have no memories at all. However, I will study hard in order to become the Beatrice you all expect.
Beato, if I told you to stay in your room. Badler's voice came out of nowhere. His tone was very slightly cold. Beata's expression looked as like that of a young girl being scolded.
I called it.
So that's where that sprite came from.
God fucking damn it.
That's why the banner of the game changed!
So I
assumed it was just his ultimate form, so it's not a big deal.
I did mention, I bet that there's going to be a Battler sprite change, but then I thought, nah. But then it happened.
Alrighty then. Anyways.
Hard ass.
I mean, I just say yes.
With a swirl of gold butterflies, Battler appeared. His dignified bearing and appearance were fitting for the ruler of this game. However, his expression was gloomy, and his gaze was directed at Beato. Go back to your room. You aren't supposed to be here.
I just wanted to help you however I could, Father.
Go. To your room. He spoke both softly and forcefully. Bella didn't leave her any room for debate. Beato hung her head and curtsied as she prepared to leave the room. Also.
Yes. What is it, Father?
My name is Battler. Never call me by a different name again.
Yes.
Beata melted into a cloud of gold butterflies and disappeared. This was the first part of the tale, with Battler as the game master. Blah, 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 blah. Witches had all assumed that he'd come forward with some flashy, big developments. This was all completely unexpected to them. Their mouths were still hanging open.
This is a pretty weird take on it.
Pardon me. Please forget what you saw just now.
You're playing dumb, but this is all just part of your plan, isn't it? You're scheming to give us the wrong impression, like another North Wind in the Sun strategy, aren't you?
Is there something wrong?
Don't worry about it. It's nothing to do with you people.
I see. Guess it doesn't matter then. Okay, Battler, start up the new game right away. You kept us waiting so long, it's gotten totally boring.
Sure. Let's have the 6th game. Erica, and you too, Burncastle. This'll be my tale. Proof that I've reached Beatrice's truth. I'm the Delta. Please watch this game until the end, as the former Game Master.
Sure. Looking forward to it. What's the title?
Dawn. As in Dawn of the Golden Witch.
Sure. If we're talking about a winter sun that goes below the horizon right away.
Of course, my master. I'll drag it back down for you. At least your naming sense is good, Battler-san. I'll give you that much.
I'm glad you like it. Then let's get started. The 6th game will now begin. Battler solemnly announced the start of the game. Compared to his fired-up attitude at the end of the previous game, where he and Erica had sworn to settle everything next time, he was extremely quiet now.
Angie. Beatrice seems to have changed a lot since we've last saw her.
I'm surprised too. I don't have a clue what's going on. I don't even get why Beato is alive in the first place. I just finished reading it a second ago, but at the end of the previous tale, didn't she die just before Battler reached the truth?
There are 2 kinds of death in this world. One of them is when a piece is taken from the game board. Such a death exists only within the bounds of the game, and these lives can revive over and over again each time a new game begins.
Con?
Sorry, I thought that said something else. That's why the witches are so merciless when it comes to taking those lives.
To the witch players, the lives of those characters who appeared on the game board are no different from pieces on a chessboard. They take other pieces and get taken. After all, these pieces will be set up again when the next game starts.
Maria Sakataro is a prime example of these.
Sakataro is One-chan's piece? Yes, that makes sense. In the game board that represents the inside of One-chan's head, Sakataro certainly does exist. And is a piece that always stays by her side. Though he's nothing more than a stuffed animal in the real world. On One-chan's game board, he's no less of a piece than any other. But I wonder, if he were a piece in a witch's game, it should be possible to revive him easily, right? But One-chan wasn't able to revive Sakataro in her world.
That's because she lost that completely unique stuffed animal that was his vessel. Because of this, the conditions for that piece's existence were violated, and it became impossible to revive him on Maria's game board. The only reason you were able to revive Sakataro on the game board was because you once again satisfied the conditions for his existence, correct?
Kana hit a gunshot outside of her house, apparently.
Oh, it's Texas. That happens like every 5 minutes.
Wow.
It was right outside my fucking house, dude!
A house in Texas, man.
You'll be fine. I say it as the orange of certainty.
If you say so.
It's still Andrew.
True. Maria One-chan was only unable to revive him because she had lost the stuffed animal that was his vessel. If, like the rest of my family on Beato's game board, she hadn't needed a vessel for him, she would have been able to revive him as often as she wanted. I get it. It makes sense that Sakataro was One-chan's piece. At least as long as his vessel was okay, he could have been revived over and over again.
Correct. As long as his vessel is safe, he can be revived over and over again. And that's what the life of a piece is like.
That's the first kind of death in this world. What's the second?
And that's the death of beings outside the game board. To continue with the Sakataro example, this would be like Maria's death.
You mean, not her death as a piece, but the death of the real One-chan, right?
Not necessarily. Loss of interest or concern would have the same effect. When Maria outgrows playing with stuffed animals, Maria, the game player, will die. It's as quick and easy as turning off the switch on a TV when you get bored of it.
I see. In that case, Beato the player completely gave up on winning during the last game. So she died and vanished. Which means, if Beato ever comes back thinking she's got a chance at defeating Oni-chan, that'll mean she's come back to life, right?
Logically, that's true. It's the same for humans, witches, and even gods. If they lose interest and concern, they can die at any time. And if they regain that interest, they can revive at any time. However, the concept of time does not exist in the world of gods, and they can revive whenever they want. Time shoots by like an arrow in the human world, and it isn't so easy there.
That's true. Skipping school for one day might not be a problem, but if you skipped for 3 days in a row, it'd be really hard to convince yourself to go back.
And what if that's stretched out for a month, a year, a decade? Or 1,000 years, like in the world of witches?
I see. If you skipped class for that long, it'd mean your death socially. After being dead that long, not only would you be unable to catch up on all you missed in the world at large, you'd also lose any motivation you might have had when you left. So, even though you'd be alive, it'd be fair to say that you died once. You would never again be able to regain the self that you once were. It would never come back to life.
Oh, Beata lost any chance of winning, chance or hope of winning. Even though she knew this, she pretended not to and kept on fighting for many, many games. So, Beata will not return. Her hopes were crushed. She spent all of the willpower that she might have used up to regain the will to fight. Therefore, that Beatrice will never revive again.
That Beata, who just sat around the whole time with empty eyes in the 5th game, must have been her corpse. She managed to remain on the game board despite it all. But then even that corpse was wiped away. If Beata had been the game master at that time instead of Lambda Delta, the game board itself would have vanished at that moment, and everything would have ended. Come to think of it, Beata started losing the will to fight back near the end of the 4th game. Beata loses her will to fight. The world of this game disappears. However, the witches wanted to keep playing in this game board world. Lambda Delta bound Beata in place with that cursed shackle. She used that shackle to fix the game board world in a place and prevent it from disappearing. Even if Beata did lose the will to fight. In chess, this would be the equivalent of removing the set time limit for each turn, making it endless. However, simply having the game endlessly paused on Beato's turn would cause the witches to die from their illness of boredom. That's why the Lambda Delta took the position of Game Master. Starting then, Beata's existence was no longer one of the conditions necessary for the game's existence. So the shackle binding her to the game board is released. And that explains why she disappeared in the 5th game.
So, when Oni-chan managed to reach the truth, it was one game too late for him to tell Beato about it.
The 5th game was a form of charity on Lambda Delta's part. She merely showed Battler some mercy as the Witch of Certainty, acknowledging his strong desire to reach the truth no matter what.
How can you call that charity? It's just those fickle witches killing time. Let's get back to the point. So, that means this weird Beato isn't the player Beato. She's just a piece Beato.
True. If that's the case, she should eventually become the Beato everyone knows. I imagine that this is the Beato that Battler wants.
You mean he wasn't satisfied with just a doll?
When playing with dolls, one can project the personality that they most desire onto the doll. However, since you are acting out their part, nothing unexpected can ever happen. You cannot hope for any unanticipated happiness. In the human world, there's nothing so boring as pre-established harmony. That's why, though a doll can become a person's best friend in the world, people eventually get bored and outgrow them.
Oni-chan only wants the real Beato. He couldn't bear having a doll that only acted like Beato.
A Beato born as Battler's piece would probably move according to Battler's wishes.
That's only natural for a piece. Pieces move however their players tell them to. And they can't do anything else. I see what it is Oni-chan wants. So what's up with this weird Beato?
Battler might be trying to revive Beato in the truest sense. And that is the never-dying dream held by children of men.
You just used the red to say that wasn't possible.
That Beato will never revive. However, that doesn't mean that it is impossible for Beato to be born again. Have you forgotten? I believe that Birkenstall herself revealed Beato's true form at the end of the first game.
Now I remember. She said something about how Beato exists as the incarnation of a rule.
Information began to accumulate based around that rule. And in the end, it took the form of the witch known as Beatrice. If that pattern is followed once more, the same Beatrice will be born again. And perhaps one could call that a resurrection.
In other words, that weird Beato. Is Beato as an egg, or maybe a chick?
That interpretation is probably accurate. In short, this Beato is a chick who might grow to become that Beato.
And that means this pure and lovable kid will eventually grow into that screwed up, crazy witch. In other words, that Beato is a baby version of the Beato we all know. So, just like how no person is born evil, the newborn Beato isn't evil either. Even though she really is a different person, if you measure her by her root, or perhaps her soul, then maybe you could really call this a resurrection. However, this reality can't possibly be easy to accept. Though she may technically be Beato herself, she is also, without a doubt, a different person. And the way she acts would make anyone feel as though something's out of place.
How entertaining. Hearing you read aloud is far from boring.
I doubt you even really need someone to read aloud for you. It looks like you already know everything.
I only reach that because I'm engaged in a conversation with you. My thoughts are more numerous than the stars in the sky. I only appear to know everything to a child of man like you. However, without you here, I'm nothing but a weak, sickly person without even the power to think.
If you just said that in the first place, I would have agreed to read for you a lot more easily.
My mood just happened to improve. Don't get an overswelled impression of yourself. Your life means less to me than a leaf one has lost after using it as a bookmark.
Please keep reading already. Is that pretty much what you're trying to say? Okay.
Far from boring. You really do make an excellent Miko.
Featherin rocked back in her rocking chair and looked up at the ceiling, laughing so that the conversation itself was pleasant for her. Angie was slowly figuring out how to deal with this strange witch. This person was also bored. Uncommon for a sick person who is bored from being bedridden for a long time to start acting rebellious. On the other hand, they also get a little bored of being treated kindly all the time. She wanted to be shown respect for her superiority. Probably more interesting for her when she's spoken to rudely. What a coincidence.
That's exactly how I used to be. Anyway. From what we learned in the fourth game, there's no doubt that there's been some kind of antagonism between Beato and Oni-chan in the past. Learning about this Beato might give us a key to finding the truth.
It does seem so. It has caught my interest as well. Let's read her tale too.
Oh, sure. As you wish, my master.
When Angie raised her hand like a conductor, the bookshelves in this bizarre study responded. Once again, several books floated out and began to swirl around Angie. Kenzo studies the room belonging to the Master in the human world. So the study in the world of non-humans belonged to the Master of the game board. It was a place where he could look down upon the humans. Therefore, one could hardly be blamed for mistaking the imposing, berobed man in the center of the study for Kinzo. If only for a second. But it wasn't Kinzo. This was Battler, the one who had taken up the position of Game Master, becoming the new territory lord of this world. Around Battler was a swirl of glowing fragments, sparkling like the night sky. On the floor was what appeared to be a red magic circle. To an outsider, it would seem to be nothing more than an incomprehensible geometric shape. But the battler who stood at its center, it was the outline for a new tale. A new line grew across the magic circle, following Battler's gaze. Then at the instant it connected with a complicated symbol, the entire magic circle flashed brightly. So, how's it look?
It is splendid, Master. The 6th game is complete.
Back away from the mic a little bit, Joshi. As Bradley wiped his forehead and finally relaxed, Genji, who was standing behind him and watching over his every move, nodded deeply in response. I always thought being a game master meant you could make the tale however you want. This is seriously harder than I thought.
One sec, setting audio shit real quick.
Iggy.
Alright there. You must write up multiple tales and make the inner and the outer sides of the story match. Though truly, you have displayed such skill, it is hard to believe that this is your first time. I believe even Erika-sama will be satisfied with this game.
Well, hopefully it matches the great detective's tastes. Still, I've got to honestly respect Beato now. I kind of believe that she managed to make that tales that complicated and did so easily.
Easily? Far from it. Beatrice-sama also worried, racking her brain over various contradictions each time she created a tale. She was constantly battling with logic errors.
Logic errors?
That is when two sides of the tale do not meet, creating a contradiction. When this happens, it becomes a fatal violation of the rules known as a logic error. The game board will immediately collapse and be destroyed. It is the greatest and worst form of error that the witch side can make, and one which must always be avoided.
So, Beato, got close to bumping into those many times in her games?
She fought with them every time she created a game. I believe it grew even more difficult for her as you became more formidable as an opponent.
So, do you think this game I've made is good enough to show Beato?
Yes. Of course.
Beato hasn't woken up yet, has she? It's been a while since her body was formed as a personification of the rules. Is she still not awake? After remaining silent for a while longer, Genji answered.
She woke up 3 days ago. You were concentrating on the construction of the 6th game, so I decided to wait before telling you. My sincere apologies.
Oh, really? Yeah, I bet she's still drowsy after sleeping for so long. I really wanted to show her my game. No, it's more than that. I have to show her. I'm gonna tell her that I've understood everything. Battler's face broke into a smile. There's no trace in his expression for the hatred he had once felt towards Beato for murdering his family.
In a way, that was the final riddle of the 5th game.
Yes. When Battler reached the truth, there was a great change in his impression of Beato.
So, should we assume that there really was something between Oni-chan and Beato? And that he forgot all about it? However, Sorry.
You go.
Okay. However, Battler suspected this in the 4th game and asked Beato about it. According to the tale, this was denied by the Red Truth. 6 years ago, no person called Beatrice existed for Battler.
We can read this as saying that Beato did not exist 6 years ago. Or it could simply mean that she had no connection to Battler at that time. However, either way, Battler did not visit Rokenjima at all for the next 6 years.
October 4th, 1986 should have been the first time Beatrice and Oni-chan met. If so, why was there already some kind of antagonism between them? I don't have a clue what it means.
That sin of Ushiromiya Battler's, which Beato took Battler to task for in the 4th game, might give us a clue. The results of that might have been Beatrice herself.
The result? The result of Oni-chan's sin was Beato? That almost sounds as though Oni-chan created the witch called Beatrice himself.
Almost as though Beatrice was Battler's piece.
Sorry, I just did a spit take. Huh?
Battler sinned 6 years ago. Because of that sin, people died. The one doing the killing was Beatrice. If you consider the possibility that everything is connected to Battler's sin 6 years ago, then the one who created Beatrice was Battler himself. I thought it sounded almost as though she was Battler's piece.
I don't get it. Even if Oni-chan sinned in some way, his crime couldn't have been anything close to murder. If this huge massacre is in retaliation for what he did, then it's totally out of proportion. Beato killed our family. Dad, Mom, Oni-chan, everyone. I can't believe that Oni-chan's sin was anything deserving of that.
The weight of a sin depends on the person measuring it. Even a sin so light that Battler might have forgotten could have been something so serious to Beato that she hated him enough to massacre his whole family a full 6 years after the fact. Well, even I find that a bit excessive, and more importantly, if she were a person like that, I would find it hard to accept that Battler would act so friendly towards her after discovering the truth.
Bethren's observation was an interesting one. In a past game, Beato clearly said that Oni-chan's sin 6 years ago was the cause of this 2-day tragedy. I still don't know what kind of sin that was. However, he figured out what it was at the end of the 5th game. And he even apologized to Beato. even though she was the witch who had massacred his entire family in retaliation for a sin of 6 years previous. Battler apologized to her. Of course, it was the Battler who apologized. The player Battler, not the peace Battler whose family had been murdered over and over again. But even so, Battler must have remembered something at the end of the last game that made him feel like apologizing. Does that mean this sin from 6 years ago is hidden somewhere in the tales we've seen so far?
I have already formed a certain theory on that matter.
Oh? Let's hear it.
I cannot tell you yet. I want to enjoy being the only one who knows the answer for a little while longer.
Well then, I guess I'm done reading for you.
Well, we can't have that, can we? Have some patience and read a bit further. My theory is still nothing more than a guess. Once I'm certain of it, I'll tell you.
Okay, my master. I actually do want to hear what comes next after all.
Tell you.
Just what kind of connection do Oni-chan and Beatrice have with each other? Understanding that will probably give me a massive clue towards finding the truth of this world. After all, because he remembered that, he was able to reach the truth.
Beatrice!
Shelly.
Shelly.
My apologies. Welcome, Master. Jesus fucking Christ. Beatrice-sama is waiting for you. This way, please.
This place was a villa set aside for Beatrice's use. It was a sacred site for her only, built so that she could spend her days without being affected by the outside world. My heart began to race. I'm so glad that she was able to revive and that everything's okay. Beato is a personification of the rules. So even though she was destroyed once, it's possible for her to be reborn again. Valor had quickly succeeded in reviving Beato's body, but he'd have trouble summoning her soul back. However, during that time he'd spent immersed in the creation of the 6th game, she had woken up. This had happened 3 days ago. Battler let himself be led into the dining hall. The dining hall had been set up for his and Beato's use. It existed so that they could enjoy some black tea while having conversations. They're only possible now that they had reached all of the truth. I want to tell her. I want to tell Beato that I found the truth. Battler couldn't hold back his excitement over this miracle he'd been granted. The miracle of Beato waiting in the dining hall to hear what he had to say. How is Beatrice? Same as usual? Is she doing well?
Oh, yes, she is doing quite well. I don't know why I'm German all of a sudden. She has been waiting for you all this time, Master. Oh, yes.
So, she's in the dining hall. She eating or something? Ah, that's okay. Doesn't matter either way.
Oh, you'd be surprised.
Beatrice! When he swung open the doors to the dining hall, Bella was greeted by a wonderful sight. Though the food laid on the table wasn't particularly sensational, it was arranged beautifully, and a champagne bottle stood there waiting. Then,
oh, sorry. I just wanted to say it. If I ever don't respond, just tagging me. I'll see that, and then you won't screw up your recording. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I gotcha. All right. Then the person clad in that familiar dress with the beautiful golden hair bowed deeply in greeting. Beatrice.
Same as prior.
Same as before.
You have my sincerest gratitude for giving me this form.
Come on, don't worry about that. I'm so glad. Beato. Bella rushed up to Beato and hugged her tightly, just to make sure her body wasn't just mist or an illusion. I solved your riddle for you. But then, before I could tell you about it, you went and disappeared.
I am right here. I will not disappear.
It's okay, you can stop talking like that. I'm not gonna ask you for anything in return. Anyway, I want to apologize. And I want to talk with you. I don't even know where I should start.
You have done nothing that you need to apologize for, Father. I'm glad just to be of service to you.
Beato?
Beatrice was born for your sake, Father. Please, let me support you. And Father, congratulations on completing the 6th game.
I told you, stop talking like that. Creeping me out.
Do you find this style of speech displeasing? Please, forgive my rudeness.
Well, I don't find it displeasing, but it's not like you. I guess I like the way you usually talk best. Beato smiled vaguely. To Battler, probably looked as though they were both smiling and at the unusual way she was talking. However, Beato's smile literally was vague and uncertain. After all, she didn't know how she was supposed to talk. Anyways, Beato, just what kind of joke is this? Tell me that the great Beatrice-sama decided to cook for me.
When I heard that you had completed the 6th game, I wanted to see if I could prepare a modest reward to congratulate you.
Oh, Beatrice-sama really worked hard to make this. I didn't even need to lend a hand at all. No, I didn't.
The food on the table really was modest and inexpertly made. You could tell by looking at it that Beato, who wasn't particularly skilled with cooking, had given it her all. However, signs of discomfort and irritation were beginning to appear on Battler's face. What's going on here?
Well, as she said, Beatrice-sama wishes to congratulate you, my lord.
Sweat was starting to show up on Kumasawa's forehead. He was also feeling uneasy. When he noticed, Battler realized this wasn't just his imagination. Beato turned her back to Battler and stuck a corkscrew into the champagne bottle. Then she showed it to Battler.
Father, congratulations on the completion of the 6th game. In the hopes that you will provide and prove victorious over your longtime rival, Furudo Erika.
Presented with a champagne bottle and a sound like that, I would think that the cork had just been pulled out. However, it wasn't the cork. It was the bottom of the bottle. The high-quality champagne that Beto had procured splashed out all over the floor in her dress. And the same sound repeated several more times. Each time one of the plates of food on the table was knocked into the air.
Father, did you find the food displeasing?
Who are you?
I am Beatrice. I was born for your sake, Father.
That's not right!
Huh?
Who is this? This isn't Beato? Anyway, don't call me father! What's going on here? What is this? Didn't I revive Beato? Genji, what's all this about?
My apologies. But that is indeed Beatrice-sama.
Are you kidding me? How's this supposed to be Beato? She's totally wrong. A fake!
No, this is Beatrice-sama. This is, without a doubt, Beatrice-sama, who was born in accordance to the rules of the game board.
No, this isn't anything like Beato. Beato was talking that weird way and laughed rudely and...
No, this is most certainly Beatrice-sama herself.
Then why is she talking like that? Why is she calling me father?
Beatrice-sama was only born a short while ago. I mean, you know, these people come out fully formed from the womb.
Not now, Shelly!
It's not too cruel to expect her to act as she once did so soon.
Are you saying that a memory hasn't returned yet?
Master. This person truly is Beatrice-sama herself. However, she is not the Beatrice-sama you knew so well.
What are you talking about? I'm the Game Master, right? Why can't I revive Beato?
Beatrice-sama has revived. However, the old Beatrice-sama lived for 1,000 years. This Beatrice-sama, on the other hand, was only born a short while ago. If she appears to be a different person, well, this just can't be helped.
Then how can I revive that Beato? Her body is right here! How can I revive her soul?
If she lives the same 1,000-year life again, she should become the same Beatrice as before.
Are you telling me to wait 1,000 years?
A person's personality isn't decided solely by their birth. It can change drastically based on the life they live and what they experience. Also, I like this voice way better. If you don't like it, I'll stop switching.
It's fine. It's good.
Do you understand?
Have fun.
Even though she's the same Beato, she is not the same.
I get it. Even if you had two the exact same person, they could change enormously depending on their upbringing.
Okay.
B?
Connections issues.
Oh, lag issues.
Oh dear.
Rindy!
Rindy, I guess.
Okay. Even though they might both be the same human to start with, their upbringing could change them so much they effectively become two completely different people. Usually, we use the term person to refer to a person, not their personality. However, since humans recognize a person by their personality, those two might as well be different people from a human perspective.
That's so true. If that tragedy 12 years ago hadn't happened, this little lady of yours might have been a cute girl who could smile without looking weird.
That's rude. I'm plenty cute as it is.
I understand.
I think I'm
the personality is what... Oh, it's not me.
Angie.
If a personality is what makes a person in our eyes, you could probably say that a second personality represents a different person entirely, even if it inhabits the same flesh body. At the very least. I'm a completely different person than I used to be 12 years ago. And if my family had come home 12 years ago, then the Angie that resulted would surely be a completely different person from me. Even a single human can become a different person. In fact, depending on their upbringing and endless possibilities, they can become an endless number of different people. So, just because this is Beato, that's no guarantee she'll become the Beato that Oni-chan knows so well. And on top of that, Beatrice is a witch who lived 1,000 years. People can die and be reborn in just 3 days. 1,000 years is such a huge amount of time.
It seems you're quite a skilled reader. For most of my readers, it would be necessary to spend several hundred pages to explain how a single person can become different people depending on their upbringing and time.
Don't underestimate your readers. We aren't just reading. We read and we think.
If I make 100 people read it, about 90 will be able to. However, only 50 will actually understand what it means. And not even 20 will actually think beyond that. And all I ask is that they think it over a bit. Nothing more than that. However, it seems that you are one of those precious 20 readers. That's why I invited you here, child of man.
It was seriously hard to like this Hachicho Toya person. However, though this forgery she had written was still in its first stages, it definitely felt as though it contained something very similar to the tales in those message bottles. Speaking metaphorically, one might call it a scent. An indescribable, unique, and stern atmosphere, like a stuffy library. The Beatrice who wrote the message bottles and Hachicho Toya are different people. And yet, this has the same scent as that tale. I see. This is why some of those curious witch hunters are so intensely devoted to her. Their keen sense of smell was able to sniff out that familiar scent.
Very well then. Please continue reading. There could be nothing more entertaining than watching your face as you glance over the words. That, and speaking with you.
I guess it's true that writers are always starving for opinions on their works. However, sorry to disappoint you. I don't think I have the time to read all the way through this thick manuscript. More importantly...
And yet, you have plenty of time.
Okay. Both the second hand and the pendulum on the ornate clock behind Hachijo had been moving the whole time. However, absolutely no time had passed for a while now. Only about 3 minutes had gone by since the time she'd entered the room.
See? Time isn't one of your problems. No sort of time will chase you away until you've finished reading.
Next page. Oh, sorry. Next page, lady. Next page.
The Moxa badgered me to turn the page, so I returned to the world of the tale once more. Why does her tale have the same scent as Beatrice's, I wonder? Is it because she actually has reached the truth as she claims? Does this mean that anyone who knows the truth could create an endless number of message bottles? Is that how the Catbox world works? I see. I guess she might also be an endless witch. In fact, maybe anyone who knows the truth can become an endless witch. An endless tale created by the endless witches. The 2 days starting on October 4th, 1986, where my family is being toyed with endlessly. I have to end it. I have to find a hint of the truth from within this story and end this endless tale.
What do you think, Beato? How's the 6th game I've made? Well, you're not the type to give me an honest compliment anyway. You'd probably say something more like, "Not bad for an incompetent fool like you." Do the regular voice for this one.
Okay. Not bad for an incompetent fool like you.
Now that I've seen what it's like to be a game master, it's pretty clear. I was the only one who had it rough each and every game. Creating a game is far from easy, so I never expected us to recognize each other's efforts like this.
Still the same voice.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay. Creating a game is far from easy.
You know, as an easy point of reference, if she's holding the pipe, then do the old voice.
Okay, thank you. I certainly never expected us to recognize each other's efforts like this.
All wrong! This isn't Beato! Battler slammed hard on the desk, but the piece Beato showed no reaction. After all, Battler hadn't ordered her to react. It would be easy to revive that Beato as a piece. However, it would only move according to Battler's wishes. Having a conversation with it was no different than talking to himself. The Game Master could summon any kind of piece. He could move those pieces in any way he wanted, reigning as an absolute god. However, for that very reason, they were just pieces. It made it unbelievably lonely and sad. You created many kinds of furniture as well as tales in the past. When I saw that, I was sure you were having a great time doing it. But that's all wrong. This is both of us.
Oh, okay. The count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
But that's all wrong. Okay. You were unbelievably lonely. It must have been such a relief for you. Having an opponent like me could actually go against you. Yep. I'm painfully aware of that now. That weird, polite Beato. Really was you, wasn't she? The way you were 1,000 years ago.
And yet... Okay, 1,
Yeah,
2...
No. This is just her talking through me. This is just me talking through Beato, so just do your voice. Go ahead. Go.
Alright.
And yet she's a different person.
The way she looks just like you is what I really can't get over. I can't stand it! However, she isn't a piece who can... Yeah, just... Look, just say it after me, it's fine.
Alright.
However, she isn't a piece, so she can't go against my will.
However, she isn't a piece, so she can go against my will.
That Beato's much more alive than a piece like you. I get that! But it's all wrong! That isn't you! He's a completely separate person, like a long-lost little sister or something. And that's why I just can't accept her! As much as he hated that peace version of Beato, Battler felt an even stronger dislike for the chick Beato. Even after a whole 1,000 years, there still wouldn't become the original Beato. Even if she were ordered to act like the original Beato, it would just be an imitation. This is very similar, but a separate person, and definitely not Beato herself. Blah, 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 blah. So, in the previous game, Beato really did disappear for all of eternity. Even after becoming the Game Master, there was no way to revive her. Laugh. Laugh at how pathetic I am. Let's give it a rest already. You're just an illusion who won't laugh unless I order it. And I can't even continue to laugh until I keep on ordering it. Just disappear!
And he's become Kenzo.
Woof.
I actually noticed it. You started talking a little bit more like Kenzo when you were doing that.
That is me doing the exact same Battler voice I've always been doing to the best of my abilities.
I'm gonna say something very stupid for a moment. That cliffside, I thought that was like a Dragon Ball Z background. And...
Shut the fuck up!
Shut up. That being said, in editing, you should put the name of like a Dragon Ball episode over it or whatever the fuck, and have like the balls in the background. There you go. Yeah.
Do not.
There.
Don't you
there's a joke.
dare.
There's a joke for you to use. If not,
fucking dare.
Why is that so bad for you, Rindy? Why is that so bad?
It's awful.
Why is it awful? I don't get it.
Just superimpose Master Roshi's island in the background right behind Rakenji.
Finish it, AC.
I thought I did, but cut it off briefly. But
you cut off a dick.
Yeah. I mean, you know what was said.
Big, grab my dick.
Yeah.
I would humbly request all the readers to please use this time to think about their thoughts, to organize them.
Actually, here, you know what? We can take a second to go over the new character intros if you think we can actually like do that now. All right, cool.
Oh, go ahead.
Mhm.
Thank you.
At this point, you'll be fine.
Battler. All caps Battler, because it's like, what is it? It's like written out in kanji or whatever the fuck.
That's how they write the witch's name.
The Endless Sorcerer and final Game Master. He's the ruler of the Game Board and the Territory Lord. To prove that he has won Beato's game, he must take on the position of Game Master. By succeeding in this, his victory will be acknowledged and Beato's game will reach its end. Because he knows the whole truth, he gets on a higher plane than all others. And on the Angie side, Featherin Augustus Aurora, the majestic witch of theater-going, drama, and spectating. She is tired of life after 1,000 years and constantly repeats a cycle of life and death. In the past, she served as a master for numerous games as a legendary witch, but her legend, glory, and memory have already disappeared into the past and been forgotten. Only the solemn metal she wears on her chest retains those memories. The horseshoe-shaped object floating around her head is a memory aid device. It records her name, appearance, and other aspects of her personality. She is so old that she'd not be able to preserve her own individuality without this.
Damn, I went to pee. What I miss?
I believe some other stuff were updated as well.
That's not horns or a halo, it's a retainer?
Wait, what else? What's up, Rinder? Huh?
I think other stuff were also updated. Like, Chick
Oh
Beato.
yeah, here we probably have like Chick Beato too. Beatrice, a new witch reborn from the rules. She has not lived 1,000 years, and her behavior is vastly different from how it once was. She is a witch who does not even know how to use magic. However, she has no fear of magic circles or spiderwebs. It is almost as though she is just a human. She adores Battler and considers it her purpose to devote herself to him. And I believe that's all of it?
Hold on, I'm gonna check for it.
Actually, I was kind of curious about something. Is it?
So what does the Halo thing do?
Erica's updated.
Erica's updated? Okay, cool.
It's a memory
Erica.
retention device.
Erica, the Witch of Truth, temporarily. She is also a detective and calls herself an intellectual rapist. Participates in Battler's game as the human side player. She possesses numerous skills that qualify her to call herself a detective, and these can even be slightly elevated to the level of Red Truth when acknowledged by her master, Burncastle. Whether she wins or loses, this will be no different. This will be the last game, and there'll be no further use of her. For her. Meh.
Also, generally, I think maybe Burncastle and Lemon Delta 2, I'm not sure though.
With the victory of the human side, she should have achieved victory as well, but she seems unable to accept it. It appears that she is less concerned with who actually wins and cares more about how brutal an end might be reached. Therefore hostile towards Battler, as he tries to end this peacefully, she attempts to use Erica to ruin this final game. Lambda Delta, because the end of this game, the game has been assured, with the victory of the human side, she no longer stands in opposition to anyone. As a previous game master, she also knows the truth and has taken a position of non-interference. Now she simply acts as a spectator, enjoying her beloved Burn's contorted expressions. And that should be it for like all the character description updates, unless I'm not checking all the fucking states.
Yeah, no, I'm going through them to see if I can see anything.
All right,
new.
cool. Yeah, I don't think there's anything new for her. Yeah. So yeah, Burncastle is essentially like seated the throne as the main antagonist, and Lambda's just kind of like chilling. She's just kind of vibing, honestly. It's great.
So,
yeah, basically.
Currently, I have made the two sprite comparisons for two characters that have appeared. Some of you may ask, wasn't there like another set of characters that appeared at the beginning? And I go, I'm not going to post them until
Oh yeah, so now I can finish making my edits to Sad Time, our new waiting screen. Give me a moment.
Angie's also different.
Oh really? Okay, hold on just a second. I need sprites. Sprites are very...
No, I bet Goatman has some new stuff.
No, he doesn't.
That'd be fucking crazy. Why is Peter Griffin in my Umineko sprites folder?
Hey Lois, I'm on Rokanchima.
No. Wait.
Okay, that's enough of that, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. For people who give a shit, I have the sprite comparisons of Featherin and that name's not, because we already know, Caped Battler, although in this I just call him Game Master.
Gamer Battler.
Yeah.
I kind of wish that he got more than just a cape.
There we go. Now he's... See, look, now it's Sad Time.
I wish kind of his, like, white outfit turned black or something.
Anyways,
oh
yeah,
shit,
yeah,
wait.
Whoop.
I forgot. We did get the Hachijo.
In the middle of her journey. Oh yeah, that's right.
Or
Here
actually,
we go.
let me go make hers actually real quick.
Real quick, there's
I just
also
download her spreads.
There's also Angie's update, and then I'm gonna go get some Cheez-Its, and then we will start up the post discussion. So just give me a second.
If I may take this short break to bitch about the 07th expansion fandom wiki real quick and state that when I type,
can you set the bitching for after I do the Angie description? I was gonna get Cheez-Its afterwards.
Okay.
The final descent of the Yoshimi family 12 years into the future. In the middle of her journey to reach Rokkenjima while evading pursuers from the Sumbadera family, she conducted into the world of an impossible memory. She reached several truths in the past games and possesses enough power to represent observers. It said that many witches are fond of her bad attitude, and many of them even have an eye on becoming her master. Okay, there we go. So yeah, really quickly, you guys all just talk amongst yourselves, and I'm gonna go get Cheez-Its. I'm sorry, I mean, non-name brand cheese squares.
It's gonna be Takis.
Anyways, I was gonna bitch about this. For some reason, the 07th expansion fandom wiki, when I type backgrounds, it doesn't give me Umineko immediately. It gives me every other fucking series outside of When They Cry as well.
What?
And I'm like, no, I just want Umineko's backgrounds, and then I have to go fucking dig for it.
Wait, what are you trying to get?
You gotta
backgrounds for sprite comparisons.
Isn't it great what fandom wiki had become? Lovely. Awful.
Install the game and have it take up plenty of gigabytes on your PC and just grab the background from the game files, Fivehead.
Yeah, but you don't want to dig
I already have
I
it.
do.
Oh,
That's what
I can do that? Fuck. Does it include the original ones as well in there?
Oh, no.
Well, then that's the problem.
Mm.
Because I include the originals in there as well.
So I wanted to say something. I do apologize for not taking certain parts seriously, but what's frustrating to me, at least, with Umineko is every single time I try to take this thing seriously, it just throws another complete, clown logic twist every single time. So it's like, I love this, but I can't take it seriously anymore. I can do my best for you guys, though.
Huh?
What?
Yeah, what?
Every single time I try to take this thing seriously, it does some twist that's like, okay, so now Beatrice lost her memories and she's a different person because reasons.
I think you lost the information.
Shelly, she was reborn. She's not the same person.
This isn't the Beato we've known before. This is someone.
It's a clone.
It's like, as I say, it's a clone. If a clone comes out of like a tube or whatever, let's just say you have a clone ain't gonna have the same exact memories and experiences as the other one. So they're not gonna exactly act like the original.
No, I understand that.
DNA.
Okay,
if she's a clone, that makes a lot more sense. The only reason I was saying that is that it seems like every single time I try to treat this with respect, treat it with some kind of internal logic that makes sense until the end, when I know it will make sense, because that's how these stories work, at least I think they are. It's just it kind of almost feels like I'm being insulted.
What?
What?
I think you might just be misinterpreting things.
Yeah.
I think you missed more point than bone.
He is not trying to literally insult me, but it's like, I'm trying to take this seriously, I'm trying to come up with these theories, and then it's just one wacky idea after another, and they're great, but I'm trying to figure out how to deal with that when it's just every other scene there's some new crazy thing going on.
It's always had this consistency, you're just misunderstanding what it is.
So,
maybe.
At any rate, now the discussion is going to formally begin. Just going to establish that now. Now, I know for a fact that some of you saw some things related to some other pieces of media you definitely shouldn't have seen. So I'm going to have you all refrain from making any mention to it until this is done.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay. What I'm saying is, you know who you are. I know for a fact that Robu knows what I'm talking about. So yeah, if you want to say something about that, then keep your mouth shut. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Am I who I am?
No. I mean, well, yeah, you
No,
are.
you're-
You
no,
are
you-
who you are, but
If
no.
the shoe fits.
Mm-hmm.
It is us basically saying, hey, we know some people have seen shit, and that they might want to say something about it. We're asking for people to refrain from saying anything. It's kind of a thing where it's like we don't want to like straight up say what it was, but like we want you to keep it on the down low.
Also, just as a
alright.
just as like a general reminder and whatnot, like minimize on references to like external piece of media that people might not know about. All right, cool.
Yes,
that's all we gotta say.
Right.
Now then, discussion begin.
Okay, so other than the rant I just had, which honestly I feel kind of embarrassed about,
Don't worry about
I
it.
really liked. I actually really liked it. The only reason I was frustrated is because, like, I try to keep thinking that status quo will at least stay a little bit, and then something else happens. But one thing I did want to say, despite the fact that I made a joke about it, if she's a clone that's if so Beatrice is a clone. She wasn't reborn literally.
In
It's up to your interpretation of what reborn means.
Because like my question at that point was, why is she not a literal child instead of a fully formed 18-year-old or something? I don't know how old she is, but I was actually thinking about that, and the idea, like at first I thought the idea is she was completely reborn, and the idea is that you don't become a person until after you become an adult, because your formative experiences are just so nebulous and you can change so easily once you become an adult from when you were as a child.
Interesting. I felt it was more along the lines of Beatrice's body had been revived, but her soul and memories have not yet returned to her.
That. Do you want a confirmation based off of the knowledge that we have been given?
Nah.
Alright.
I'm only saying soul in the aspect like her personality.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything ahead of time. I was saying with the information we have been given. But if you don't, I understand.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's
any confirmation.
Based on the information we have received and what the story has told us so far, Khan was pretty much right. This quote-unquote chick Beto is it's just like a clone. It's not the same Beto. It doesn't have the same memories, so without those memories, she can't form the same personality that she once had. And basically, Battler's pissed off because it's not the same Beto.
Oh man, is he pissed off?
It's like looking at your girlfriend, but she doesn't know who you are, or something like that. Well, maybe not a girlfriend, but...
Actually, it would probably be more on the lines of a family, as he said, like a long-lost little sister. It's like if a family member suddenly developed amnesia and they had no idea who they were or who you were. They were just a blank slate.
Yeah, that fucked me up. My little sister just didn't know who I was.
Oh god, that would mess me up. Which explains Battler's crazed anger at this point. And you said earlier he's become Kinzo. I second that, dude.
I threw out a mention of that too. I mentioned, is he gonna start screaming like Kenzo?
Like, I just thought that was the point. Like, I literally, maybe that was just my confirmation bias, but I thought Orange was making it sound like he was doing Kinzo.
If so, then he was doing a hell of a good job.
I would probably say that it was trying to do a normal yelling, but I think there was a bit of a slight bit of gravel in some of his yell. So I could easily see people, and myself included, kind of hearing a bit of Kenzo. Also, it doesn't help that the nature of it is similar.
Because in a sense, he's trying to do what Kinzo has done before, which is bring Beatrice back. Except this time, it's a different circumstance set.
I mean, there was that other Beatrice that fell off a cliff. That could have actually been a successful-ish attempt outside of the memories.
Maybe? I feel like that was the actual Beato, or the actual Beatrice. But that's for a completely different theories crafting time.
I don't know, I feel like it could apply to this.
The story has multiple layers when it comes to differentiating between what is the truth and what is fiction. And that comes even more so to the people and the characters within it.
May I ask if any other thoughts or like anything else that kind of like sticks out, or any other mysterious things that's been like you've been still pondering?
I had some, but I'm not really feeling good.
The fact that Beato was
Sorry, you go.
Sorry. The fact that Beato was created by Battler for his sake from the sin of 6 years ago. What sort of monumental sin could he have committed that would cause something like this to happen?
I just really hope it isn't like he didn't realize that she liked him or something like that.
No, I don't think that's it. That's not as much of a sin as much as that's just pettiness.
So what turns out Battler was Kinzo all along.
No,
Then it goes into
that's
time
terrible!
travel.
That would mean he's his own grandpa!
Yes.
Ew!
Oh no, I don't think they're related by blood, right?
I don't think there's time travel that far back.
Let's not say that one.
I can't believe Battler was Kinzo's lover all along.
Ew! 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 Ew!
Oh no!
I like you as a grandfather, but off traffic.
AC,
I hate
also bad.
that image in my head, and I will get you back.
All of my hate!
So like,
what is that from? I know that's from something. Like, all of my
Not
hate.
from Umineko.
I was saying.
I can get you back for that, man.
Let's get back on track, people.
Oh, DBZA. DBZA, that's what it's from.
Anyway!
Anything else? Was the original question?
Whenever Toya, or I guess I should call her Featherin at this point.
Yeah, sure, call her what you like.
Yes.
I'll just call her Featherin. Earlier, whenever she stated that it was the wearer of the sin who judged how difficult or heavy it was, that makes me think, if Beato was created from that, then who was the person who's weighing Battler's sin this whole time if it's not Beato?
Maybe the family of the island? I don't know.
The rest of the Ushiromiyas?
Probably.
If that's the case, then why exactly would they be killing themselves off through Beato?
We don't know.
I wonder if his like sin has to do with like leaving Angie or something, or something to do with Angie.
No.
I don't really remember the time frame of when he and her split.
I don't think that's it. I mean, that is pretty messed up to leave your sibling behind when they're sick for a family vacation.
I don't think that he had control over them splitting up.
Exactly. That doesn't count as a sin as much as that's just unfortunate circumstances.
I think it was the last time that Battler was on the island 6 years ago that something happened that everyone forgot, but it's basically the main reason why everything was happening.
It could be that, like, I think it mentioned that Beato had no involvement in Battler's life. Like, she could just be doing something on behalf of somebody else.
Up until 6 years prior. Which means that incident is what happened and is the catalyst for this whole thing. So maybe finding out that catalyst is enough to help solve this mystery.
One thing I do want to know, real quickly, may I add something to this conversation and all that?
Go for it.
One thing I will state, throughout various points in the episodes we have seen, they have stated that Angie was not on Rockinjava because she was sick at the time.
Right. Something about stomach problems or diarrhea?
Yeah, something along... It was actually along those lines.
And I just remember Kyrie and Jessica having an exchange about that. well, I think it was Cutie and Jessica.
I'm pretty sure there's also like a thing where Battler joked about it, and like Jessica like slapped him upside the head and went, "Ill, that's gross." But that aside,
That was it.
But yeah, that was the conversation. But yeah, that was all I really wanted to add real quick.
I think I can add something now. I'm feeling a bit better.
Go ahead.
Notice that throughout many of the episodes, characters will sometimes act differently from prior episodes. I wonder if that has to do with them being controlled by another force.
It would make sense. Featherin did say that whoever controls their pieces is the one that actually makes them move otherwise. Otherwise, they're just standing there and not doing anything.
I also
Kind of fucked up when you think about it.
I also put out a thing about I guess the main reason why Battler didn't like kind of stop dating Beatrice was due to figuring out what her deal was. Like he's like without like actually knowing her reasons, he doesn't really have any reason for forgiving her cackling as she mutilated his family.
Guess the best thing I can say for that is circumstances have changed?
Well, like I mentioned, he says that he now knows what her deal was.
Just a quick little thing. Pieces on the board don't just stop moving when they are in control. They have a personality and will act according to it naturally.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, it does seem that they sometimes act differently from how they acted in other times. I can't really name a moment, but there have been multiple moments where I've gone, why are you doing this now? Why are you acting this way now?
So they do have some degree of autonomy.
I mean, they have many degrees of autonomy. Like, I assume that these are still people. Like, I don't think these are robots.
No, they're pieces. Oh god, now I'm dehumanizing him. Fuck!
I mean, I assume there's still the people that were on the island. Like, I don't have any reason to not think that. Unless straight up, like, this is just a recreation of events. Every time, and these are just silhouettes. Like, maybe they already all died, and these are just robots that they are piloting.
They're not robots.
I don't mean literal metal robots.
Robots being piloted by the dead.
No.
No.
That's not what I meant at all.
I know, that just sounded like a cool concept, honestly.
Maybe they're already dead and these are just shadows.
So do you guys have anything else you want to talk about?
I'm done.
I greatly appreciate the introduction of the Witch of Theater going.
Yeah, that's so for those of you who don't know, who obviously don't know in the Twitch stream, which by the way, hey, we got a first time chat from a viewer. That's really cool to see. Inpontan sister? I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure if I thanked you for following, but hey, it's cool. You get cool emotes if you sub though. That's also just something if you mention if you want like to see fucking Erica losing her shit. Anyways, fuck, what was I actually gonna say? Oh yeah. So for the Discord, we have two different roles that we apply to the people who are either reading or they are just able to watch. And they are the readers and the theater goers. That is where we got those names from.
I was wondering about that because that was a very particular term.
Yeah. So I just thought it was something that's a bit fun to bring up. But yeah, anyways, thank you all very much for watching and whatnot. We are going to cut off the stream now. Bye-bye!